Hey, my name is Jeremy Arsenault, and I want to teach you today about the Old Testament. And really, I want to ask this question. Is the Old Testament old news? If you spend some time in the modern Christian circle, you might notice a certain common set of myths about the Old Testament as you continue in that journey. Here are some myths about the Old Testament. One is that it has nothing to do with us. It's irrelevant to Jesus, and salvation would be another one that they would claim. And then it's incomprehensible. I just don't understand. How do I make sense of all of these books together? And I want us to address these myths, and really I want us to explain that the exact opposite is true. The Old Testament is the foundation of our faith. It's the scripture that Jesus read in the synagogues and taught to his disciples. If the Old Testament was good enough for Jesus, I think it's worth learning something about. So, first thing I just want to state is this: the Old Testament has everything to do about God and his relationship with us. From the very beginning, the Bible creates man. He looks down on them and he says, "This is very good." In Genesis 1, we read, "So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them." And then as we skip to Genesis 31, we see that scripture. Then God looked over all he had made, that's humankind, all of creation, and he saw that it was very good. The problem is humanity itself allows itself to be corrupted and turns away from God time and time again. But God, in his love and kindness, always continues with his perfect plan to bring them closer to him. And the same is true for you. As you read through the Old Testament, what you find is a story after story of people turning to what they want and God still pursuing them. And no matter how much you turn away from God, God still has a plan for when you're ready to turn back to him. Second point I want to make is this: the Old Testament is all about Jesus. Reading the Old Testament is like looking out the window on your journey to salvation. And in every book, there are glimpses of what Jesus is and what he is coming to do. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 says this: "Don't misunderstand why I've come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophet. No, I came to accomplish their purpose." Now, if Jesus is telling us that he's accomplishing something, I think it would be wise for us to learn exactly what it is that he's referencing. And we see here in Genesis 3:15 the plan of salvation that was first mentioned as we go through the Bible. "And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." Now, what does this really mean? When it says he'll strike your head, that's referring to Jesus defeating Satan through the cross and resurrection. And "you'll strike his heel" is referring to Satan, where he would wound Jesus, but not defeat him. The third point that I want to make is this: that the Old Testament is not just a bunch of incomprehensible stories, but an entire narrative leading to Jesus. The story of the Old Testament, when you read through it on its own, without realizing that everything points together, you may just have a confusion of like, what are all these stories for? But this entire thing, it's a story that leads us to Jesus. I want to go through a basic outline as we close with this. It starts with creation. God brings everything from nothing. Humanity rebels, and we see the fall, and sin enters the story. The flood, judgment comes, but God preserves a remnant. The Tower of Babel, human pride scatters the nation. God calls Abraham, the beginning of his rescue plan. Slavery in Egypt, God's people suffer under oppression. The Exodus, God delivers his people with power. The Promised Land, they receive the land but struggle to remain faithful. The time of Judges is a cycle of rebellion, rescue, and relapse. The Kingdom era, Israel is united under kings. The temple is built, a place where God dwells with his people. Idolatry spreads. The people turn from God. Destruction and exile. Both kingdoms fall and the temple is destroyed. Return and rebuilding. Some return and rebuild, but the glory isn't the same. Longing for restoration, waiting for a king like David, but better. And the story ends pretty open. It ends with a cliffhanger that only Jesus can resolve. Well, I hope this helps you in your journey through the Old Testament, and I hope it fills you with just a desire to dive in deeper than you ever had before. Thank you so much.